Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum class. This is Ms. Sidra Iqbal, visiting teacher of the Department of History and Art, Division of Arts and Social Sciences, University of Education, Bangalore Campus, Lahore. I am here with the course title of Foreign Policy of Pakistan for the program of Masters of History, which course code is HIST 4116. So, in this series of Foreign Policy of Pakistan, we are going to discuss the United Nations of Organization. It's the continuation of the previous lecture. In previous lectures, we discussed many aspects of the United Nations Organization. We discussed a lot of things. So, today we are going to continue the failure of UNO. In previous lecture, we discussed the failure of United Nations organization like terrorism, child abuse, massacres, and the many other things we discussed. So now we are going to continue the failure of UNO. On the sixth point, we are going to discuss the Cold War. The Cold War exemplifies the failure behind the यूनाइटेड नेशंस चार्टर. कोल्ड वॉर जो है इसका एक ख़ास एक एग्जाम्पल है द फेलियर बिहाइंड द यूनाइटेड नेशंस चार्टर. कोल्ड वॉर बेसिकली जो है वर्ल्ड वॉर टू के बाद जब दो सुपर पावर्स यूएसए एंड यूएसएसआर दुनिया के नक्शे पर आई थी, तो इनके दरमियान फॉर द स्ट्रगल ऑफ पावर जो एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चला था उसको हम कोल्ड वॉर कहते हैं. कोल्ड वॉर में किसी भी किस्म के आमने सामने कोई भी लड़ाई नहीं थी, ये जस्ट एक जो है वर्डी वॉर थी बिटवीन दी यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका and Soviet Union, USSR. In 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDER, which abbreviation is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was established in 1948. On the seventh number is Somalia conflict. Somalia conflict is also considered one of the failure of the United Nations organization. There was no national government in Somalia for nearly 2 decades. Intervention of UN due to the weak government. अब सोमालिया के अंदर तकरीबन पिछले कोई डेकेड्स हम कहते हैं 10 साल का इरा 1 डेकेड होता है, तो 2 डेकेड्स से नियरली 2 डेकेड्स इनमें जो है वो किसी भी किस्म की कोई नेशनल गवर्नमेंट नहीं है, जिसकी वजह से यूएनओ इंटरवेंशन ऑफ यूएनओ है due to the weak government. Some of them considered that United Nations was unorganized and unprepared. In 1991, in 1991, an estimated 3,50,000 to 3,000 3,05,000 to 10 lakh Somalis had died because of the conflict. This is a big criticism or a big question came on the United Nations. Rwanda genocides. Another issue was the Rwanda genocides. The Rwandan civil war in the early 1990s, tensions between two ethnic groups, the Hutu, between the two ethnic groups, the Hutu and the Tutsis, were at a dangerous high. अब 1990s में एक नई टेंशन जो उभरी थी वो टू एथनिक ग्रुप्स जो थे दी होतो एंड दी तोतिस were at the dangerous high peak level. This is also considered a great question, criticized question on the United Nations. Thousands had flocked to the school for unprotection and roaming gangs of photos spotters killed nearly all of them. Close to 1 million Rwandans were killed in the genocide. Thousands had flocked to the schools for unprotection, and roaming gangs of Hutu spotters killed nearly all of them. Close to 1 million Rwandans were killed in the genocide. Administration. I hope you can understand the failures of United Nations. Now we have to take a look on the administration of the United Nations. Finance. The Secretary General must submit a biennial budget to the General Assembly for its approval. The Charter stipulates that the expenses of the organization shall be borne by members as appointed by the General Assembly. The Committee on Contributions prepares a scale of assessments for all members based on the general economic level and capacity of each state, which is also submitted to the General Assembly for approval. जो सेक्रेटरी जनरल होता है उस पे लाजिम होता है कि वो बिनियल बजट जो है वो जनरल असेंबली में पेश करे जनरल असेंबली के अप्रूवल के लिए. बिनियल बजट मतलब the charter stipulates that the expenses of the organization shall be borne by members as appointed by the General Assembly. चार्टर जो है वो stipulate the expenses. The Committee on Contributions prepare a scale of assessments for all members. कमेटी जो है वो एक कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन तैयार करती है एक ऐसा स्केल जिस पर तमाम मेंबर्स जो हैं उनकी असेसमेंट की जा सकती है बेस्ड ऑन द जनरल इकोनॉमिक लेवल एंड कैपेसिटी ऑफ ईच स्टेट, जो कि बेस करती है जनरल इकोनॉमिक लेवल और हर स्टेट की कैपेसिटी पे, विच इज़ आल्सो सबमिटेड टू दी जनरल असेंबली फॉर अप्रूवल, जो कि जनरल असेंबली में भी पेश किया जाता है अप्रूवल के लिए. Privileges and immunities. A general convention on the privileges and immunities of the United Nations, approved by the General Assembly in February 1946 and accepted by most of the members, asserts that the United Nations possesses judicial personality, एक जनरल कन्वेंशन होता है ऑन प्रिविलेज और इम्यूनिटीज़ ऑफ द यूनाइटेड नेशंस पे, जो कि अप्रूव होती है जनरल असेंबली ने अप्रूव किया इन फरवरी 1946 एंड एक्सेप्टेड द मोस्ट ऑफ द मेंबर्स, और बहुत सारे मेंबर्स जो हैं उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट किया. Asserts that the UN possesses judicial personality. The convention also provides for such matters as immunity from legal process, immunity from legal process of the property and officials of the United Nations organization. An agreement between the UN and the United States signed in June 1947 defines the privileges and immunities of the UN headquarters in New York City, headquarters. The General Assembly decided during the second part of its first session in London to locate its permanent headquarters in New York. John D. Rockefeller JR donated land for a building site in Manhattan. Temporary headquarters were established at Lake Success on Long Island, New York. The permanent secretariat building was completed and occupied in 1951 to 1952. The building providing accommodation for the General Assembly and the councils was completed and occupied in 1952. The UN flag, adopted in 1947, consists of the official emblem of the organization, a circular world map as seen from the North Pole, surrounded by a wreath of olive branches in white centered on a light blue background. The Assembly designated October 24 as United Nations Day. Conclusion. To conclude this topic, I would like to say that today the role and potential of human rights education in maintaining national and global stability, peace and security is undeniable. Quality education based on a human rights approach means that rights are implemented throughout the whole education system and in all learning environment. At the national level, the coordinating department or unit assigned by the Ministry of Education in each country would work in close cooperation with relevant national agencies responsible for the elaboration of country reports to the United Nations treaty bodies in order to ensure that progress in human rights education is included in those reports. At the international level, the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace needs to human rights education. UNESCO. UNESCO is international organization do this duty. UNESCO's work in human rights education is guided by the World Programme for Human Rights Education. In this research, we try to show the United Nations organization's role in human rights education and its importance as a means for personal and societal empowerment. At present, The universality of human rights has meant that human rights can be studied by a student of any age, anywhere in the world, which gives the dissemination of human rights education a critical advantage. So, this is the end of the topic of United Nations Organization. I hope you can understand. If you have any question, or if while listening the lecture, if you have any problem, you can ask me in the Google Classroom, or you can text me anytime. Thank you.